There you go. All right,
Nice.
let's go.
Sweet.
Denver, Jackson. Hello.
Bobby.
How you doing,
Hey,
man?
how's it going?
Good, man. Good to see you, brother.
Yeah, same here.
How are you recovering from Pixelotl?
I mean, I'm kind of missing it in a way. Like it
Yeah,
was so much fun being at
yeah.
that festival. Pixelatl is so awesome. Everyone there, all the volunteers, like all the
Shout
friends I've
out.
made, including you.
Yeah.
It's been so great. Getting to make all these friends and connections and everything. Um,
Yes.
it's so great. And also like you're like still connecting, like after Pixelated, we're still chatting and stuff like that.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Let's go back a little bit, man, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do it.
So when did you start making your own films, and what inspired you to do so in the beginning?
I started on animated films almost like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But prior to that, since I was like 14 years old, I wanted to make films and just in general. Like I started out in live action and just recording like with my mom's home video camera, like my siblings and I, like making action films. We were just like young kids and we were like playing around and I was doing like in camera edits as well. So recording and then stop like on the edit and then like next shot record.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like all in camera. But I started like in live action and then slowly transitioned to like having visual effects in my films.
Mm-hmm.
And my background is was compositing at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
compositing visual effects into my movies. And
Mm-hmm.
then that moved on to wanting to start animating just films in general. And so I never went to school for any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's wild.
the way I like kind of did it was like I just watched every behind the scenes DVD commentary and like anything that I could find in art books and online forums, just asking artists about the production process. And I started to come out with my own like production pipeline, like the every
Yeah.
stage of production from storyboarding to animatics to background paintings, character animation, and all of that stuff. The first notion of like me wanting to do animated films was actually the Don Bluth film Titan AE. I remember watching that movie and thinking, "Oh man, I could do anything in animation."
Oh.
But that always stayed in the back of my mind. And then when I was in grade 10, my friends really wanted to introduce me to the works of Studio Ghibli because
Mm-hmm.
I'd never seen anime at that time. And
Mm-hmm.
so they like kind of forced like Spirited Away on me. And I remember like watching Spirited Away and being transported. Nothing made me feel the way Spirited Away made me feel. And that was like the first that was like, okay, I'm doing animation. I'm going to like
Mm-hmm.
jump in and I want to try animation. After seeing Spirited Away, my friends gave me Macromedia Flash, and then I started learning Flash and posting to Newgrounds. Uh, and I was like animating with a mouse at the time. Didn't have a tablet, but I didn't know the production process for animation. I was just like animating things,
Yeah.
and I had no idea like the stages of production.
Yeah.
Um, but I wasn't taking it very seriously at the time. I just wanted to animate stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing like things come to life through animation was magic to me. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is so cool. And
Mm-hmm.
then I was still doing live action films, and I'm like, I want to kind of take this seriously. So that's when I started breaking down the production process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was there any fear that you're like, I didn't go to school for this, or did you combat that fear with just like research or
Well, I'm a little weird in a way because I don't think about how many people it takes to make stuff. And
Mhm.
so when I was at that age, I'm like watching all these films, animated films, and thinking, I can do that. Oh, I can do that. I can make that technique or that thing happen. And I just went out and tried it. And after time, making friends, artist friends, art they would tell me like, it takes an army to make these types of movies, but I never really cared about that. I'm like,
Mm.
no, I can do it.
Okay.
I had so much confidence in myself. I could
Uh-huh.
just do
Uh-huh.
it.
How old were you when that first started? Just so I can feel bad
Ooh.
about myself.
I think it was right out of high school.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah, that's when I started, like right out of high school. I went to I right out of high school I went to college for nursing actually because my parents
Mm-hmm.
wanted me to become a nurse or like
Mm-hmm.
a farm they wanted me to become a pharmacist.
Mm-hmm.
And nursing was like a first step towards that.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to school for nursing, but I was always making films in while I was in school, and like any free time I had, I would like be storyboarding stuff and like trying to write things.
Yeah.
And I worked as a nurse for like 2 years
Oh, did you?
until yeah,
Oh,
until I'm
wow. I
like
didn't know
I'm gonna
that. Okay.
try this film stuff full time. Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
isn't
So
a
it was
nurse thing a full-time gig as well?
oh, it was. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
funny. Yeah, yeah. So I was working and I decided I was working in a care home actually. So I was taking care of old folks.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to work night shifts because while everyone was sleeping, I could like work on my stuff. So I would be basically at that age like barely sleeping, just like working night shifts and working on my storyboards and art and everything, and then coming
Wild.
home and keep working on that stuff in my free time.
Wild.
Yeah, yeah.
At that point, what was your goal? Like, what was your ambition? Were you just kind of figuring yourself out as a filmmaker, or did you have like an immediate like goal, or did you want to go
Yeah.
into a studio, or did you want to get things published, or
No, studios were never a thing in my mind. It was mainly I wanted to make feature films. That was always a thing.
that is wild, man. That's something you
Mhm.
didn't tell me about, like in Pixel. I didn't know you were moonlighting as a nurse. That sounds like
I
that
think
sounds
that
like
was
the ultimate.
actually an
Yep.
important step in my life too, because taking care of like seniors,
Yeah.
it allowed me to basically like have empathy like in my life for
Mm,
doing that job through doing that job. And I think it's really important as a filmmaker to have empathy like as an important standpoint, like a thing in your life. Um, because films are all empathy machines. So
interesting.
having that
Yeah.
understanding, yeah, I think
Love
that
it.
was an important thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're working as a nurse at this care home. You're doing your short films on your off time. And I know that you've done a lot. You had done a few. How many was it before Worlds Divide? How many was
It
that?
was like 3 short films that I
Okay.
did, and then I did a web series which was over an hour long, and then a first feature.
What?
Yeah. So essentially, I started on short films to try and learn the production process, and then I jumped to a web series to kind of figure out like, can I tell longer form stories?
Gotcha.
And then my first feature was really like a study because the web series was all like traditionally drawn. It was all hand drawn,
Yep.
and I got like pain in my hand after doing that, and I figured I can't like it's basically impossible. So I started like thinking of ways to tell longer form stories without like damaging my hand, and
Yeah.
that's when I started learning 3D and
Yeah.
trying to implement that into my workflow. And so my
Dang.
first feature was basically seeing if I can implement that into my workflow and actually finish the production.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I was gonna ask you about that because when with your presentation down in Pixelotl, you said
Mhm.
you showed some slides of your hand being messed up
Yeah.
and then you just never mentioned how you remedied that. And I was like, I guess it got better at some point, but I was like,
It hasn't fully healed. Like if I draw for long
sure.
hours, the pain will come back.
Mm, gotcha.
So it kind of sucks, but right after that, the web series, I kind of like limited the amount of time I would be drawing for, or like the first, I think, few
Smart.
months, I wouldn't draw at all. And it was
Yeah.
mostly like
Right.
figuring out like 3D, and
Yeah.
that's just using a mouse. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, like it's take care of yourself. That's a huge recommendation for me. Like I recommend people just figuring out like their health first.
There were a couple things that stuck out to me. You know, one of them was that you were learning new tools as you kind of went along that would obviously kind of help alleviate the pain that you had in your drawing hand. And
Mm-hmm.
then also, if you guys take a look at Denver's first few films all the way until where he is now, there's a huge jump in like artistic skill, huge. And then even writing skill, or even a skill at every facet of the process. You know, to your point, it's like if you're doing a whole film on your own, that's probably what's going to happen. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think that was really, really shocking and surprising too. And I'm glad that you showed all that stuff at Pixelotto, your early films, and kind of see how you evolved as an artist and as a writer. Yep.
You can't be embarrassed about like all that's your old work.
Yeah.
I the greatest thing about what we do is that we don't know everything and we won't ever know everything. And so it's so much fun learning stuff, learning new things, learning, gaining experience on every project.
Yeah.
And the thing that excites me to jump onto the next project is to implement everything I've learned on the last project. And so
Yeah.
that's why I keep making these things because
Yeah.
I'm like excited to just implement all the knowledge I've gained from working on the previous work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I see all the mistakes. I see everything that I sucked at all the past stuff. But then you look at the next thing and I focus on trying to fix those mistakes.
And so with the Worlds Divide, in the beginning, I know you probably it sounds like with every project that you do, your aspirations get bigger and bigger and bigger and more grandiose, and you have more tools. You started to implement more 3D. In development, though, did you know that it was going to be like a full-length feature film and that you were going to tackle it all on your own?
So right after finishing my first feature, which was a big action adventure, during that process on the first feature, I didn't actually know if I could do it. So I didn't know if I could actually make a feature film.
Mm,
And I chose the hardest thing to do, which is a big action adventure epic. And that was like the same idea for Worlds Divide. So after like I did the first feature film, I I was so confident that I could do Worlds Divide because
mm.
I figured out the pipeline. I figured out everything I needed to on the first feature. And there was no question that I could just make the next film. So I'm kind of at a point where I feel pretty confident that I can just make a feature film.
Yeah,
But the biggest challenge now in my life is not whether I can make a film, it's if I can take care of my health at the same time.
gotcha.
Yeah. Because
Gotcha.
it's a lot of hours. Like
Yeah.
both features that I did in the past, it was like 14 to 18-hour days, 7 days a week for like 2 to 3 years straight.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no like social life, there was no going out, hanging out with friends. It was just in my studio space working 7 days a week. Um, but that's what it took to do the film. And for Worlds Divide, it was all self-funded too. So
Yeah.
that was like eating up on my savings while working on the
Mm-hmm.
film. And I knew that I had enough to survive like the 2 to 3 year long production process.
Yeah.
And that's why I had a hard deadline, and that's why I was working so much.
Mm.
Yeah.
At this point, because it's so demanding of you, resource, time-wise, health-wise, how do you push through all that
Yeah.
overwhelm and yeah.
So for me, like I kind of gave myself little reward points. Like if I for instance, in the edit, when I'm making the film, when I'm in production, I
Yeah.
don't actually drop shots into the edit until I feel like I need some inspiration.
Mm.
And so I'm like working on all these shots through the film, and I have like maybe two sequences done, and I get to a point where I want to feel inspired. That's when I'll open up the edit and start dropping in all the shots and watching the whole sequence through. and that
Mm-hmm.
inspires me because it's suddenly now seeing the scene play out, and
Mm-hmm.
it feels like it's working and keeps me
Yeah.
going on the next thing.
Yeah.
So I give myself those. I'll hold back on watching at on the edits. I'll hold back on watching a sequence through
Yeah.
until I need the inspiration.
Yeah.
So I kind of like do that through a bunch of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like even like working if I can get enough shots done to render overnight, like if I can do it early enough, my reward is playing a new video game that I just bought or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So just giving myself little reward points, like it's tough for I think for a lot of people because um especially working as an independent artist, like giving yourself those deadlines,
Yeah.
it's like self deadlines are I think for a lot of people hard to see through because a lot of people will might procrastinate or
Yeah.
but like I think like being hard on yourself, having those deadlines and trying to meet them. I'll like work on shots and like I need to get like 6 shots done in today, and I won't go to bed until those 6 shots are done. And so that it means that I might not get any sleep unless I
Mm-hmm.
can get those shots done.
Mm-hmm.
So the deadlines on myself are pretty hard. Um, and I do that through the entire production process. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
manage to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the most rewarding thing about making a film is when it's complete. It
Yeah.
feels so satisfying,
Yeah.
and that that itch was scratched like
You're chasing
on
that
short
feeling.
films. Yeah, and it's like trying to get there,
Incredible.
and on the short films, like doing each production process, each like from storyboarding to animatics and character animation and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that the short films taught me that doing it all solo, like focusing on each stage of production. So if you only focus on the storyboards as one project, and once you complete those storyboards for your entire film, that itch is kind of scratched at that point. And then you move on to the next stage, which is building the animatic. And once you can play the animatic through, that itch is scratched again.
Mm-hmm.
So each stage of production is like one project.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just look at it as a
Gotcha.
project.
Take it
Yeah,
bit by bit.
bit by bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
and like if you just do that, eventually, like you'll have a feature film. Like if you just keep step by step, so you don't focus on the whole thing, right? Because if you
Uh,
start out writing and you're writing like this epic action adventure, you and then you start thinking about all the stuff that you need to do, like painting backgrounds and all these action sequences that you need to animate, you're
yeah.
going to get overwhelmed and you may not do it because it's too overwhelming. So
Yeah.
if you like just focus on like even for storyboarding, just focus on like each scene at a time
Yeah.
and go through storyboarding like, oh, I'm going to get one scene done in 5 days, and then that will be my project. And then after that, another 5 days for the next scene, and just like bit by bit move along. Don't think about the rest of the production.
Yeah.
Just focus on what you're working on. I will say, like making the feature, I also focused on moments that I knew where I wanted the best quality animation. So action sequences
Yes.
I kind of did first, and
Yeah.
then I did emotional sequence next, and then
Mhm.
anything in between.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
and then connecting all those dots. Yeah,
Got it. Got it.
um,
Got it.
yeah,
And then
but
the film overall from Worlds Divide from beginning to end was 2.5 years.
yeah, about 2.5 years production process. Yeah.
I'll tell you what I did in 2.5 years, maybe five drawings. Um, Amazing, dude. Amazing. Yeah, what a privilege to have met you and seen this film and get to know you and be friends. But we talked about it early on before we got on the call of like the importance as you as a creator, especially if you're in the animation industry right now. It's a little bit tumultuous. It's a little bit unpredictable right now. So there's a big amongst us artists of like a push to start pursuing their own projects, maybe telling their own stories independent from the studios.
Right.
Kind of what advice would you give to artists that are looking to kind of get into that realm?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say you just got to start. You just got to begin your project. there's like nothing really stopping us to make our films
Yeah,
besides really like of course we need money to survive and pay rent and all this stuff.
sure.
um but like you know the we work 8-hour days, and then there's time that we can spend like just working on the film,
Yeah.
on our own personal projects. And like when I started doing nursing and everything, I was working like basically 8-hour days, and then like just working full time on my projects.
Hmm.
And I never thought that I couldn't do it. um I was always just like really motivated to, like, I can do this. This is, to me, it was always like easy in my head. Like,
Oh my
oh,
God.
I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, we're our own worst enemy. So, like, we stop ourselves from making things. We like, oh, it's too hard, or like, I need like an army of people, or I need this, I need that. I'm not ready to tell this story yet because I don't have the experience to do it. I will say it's never gonna be how you imagined your story. Like when you finally get to finish it,
Mm-hmm.
like in your head, it's always like better. But
Hmm.
then when you finish the project, you always have things that you want to, could be better on the project. So
Hmm.
like, just do it.
Yeah.
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 Don't let anything stop you from doing it. And then you'll move on to the next project and keep improving.
There was one thing that I realized too when you're giving your presentation and you're going through the different short films leading up to where you are now.
Hmm.
There was one thing that you kind of kept saying was just kind of like, I don't really know how to do this, and it probably can't be done. I'm gonna just do it on my own. Yeah, I'm just make it. Just make my own feature film, which sounds crazy. When it came out of
Yeah,
your mouth, I was like, what? Who has ever said that in history? You said it, and then you did it.
I remember after my first feature, I got an agent, and they were like, it was like I think two people in the agency, and they're like, "Oh, we love the Worlds Divide script. We'll pitch it around. We'll like get people on board, as executive producers, like big names on board, and
Yeah.
then we'll like slowly, gradually get funds." And the way they were explaining it, and the way that development would happen, and then it would go into pre-production and production, it sounded like it was going to take like 15 years, something like that, to
Oh,
finally like
yeah.
see the light of day. And
Hmm.
even if like it gets in a green light for development, there's no guarantee that would go into like pre-production or like production.
Yeah.
And so I told them, that sounds like a long time. I'll just make this in
I'm
two.
just gonna go away for 2 years.
Yeah, I'll just make this in 2 years. And they laughed at me and said, "Good luck." And then now it's done.
Oh my God. What a Rocky Balboa that shit, man. My goodness gracious. That ambition and work ethic. But I will say that ever since I came back from Pixelato and meeting people like you, Jeff, and seeing Jorge's talk, I feel like nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
And so even when I'm getting back to my work here in LA,
Uh-huh.
if I ever feel like, oh, but I can't do that because I can't do it on my own. I'm like, think about you.
Yeah.
And I think, no, just do it. You can
Definitely.
do it. Really anything is possible. I made friends with a guy that made like a 2 hour feature film on his own. You telling me you can't like write a treatment for a story idea? There's no excuses anymore, which is a wonderful thing to have experienced people like you, and there's just no excuse. And so
Oh,
like it's
yeah.
just me coping with like I'm just one person, you
Yeah,
know?
and especially like now, like there's no reason why you can get together with a bunch of friends that
Yeah.
like down in LA and
Yeah.
just like make something
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Uh it's like the way the industry is now, you might as well just like make something together with your buddies.
Yeah. Man, what's next for you?
Yeah, so currently I'm like working on developing my next feature film.
Of course.
Um,
Uh-huh.
and it's been great, like because I'm on the road a lot for the festival circuits.
Yes.
It's there's barely any time for me to spend in my studio space working on the
Mm.
film. So usually, typically, like development, like putting together pitch packages, I'll do like a bunch of concept art on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
But with the festival circuit, I'm just doing a ton of artwork like in a sketchbook.
Yeah.
And that's been great because I'll be sketching at airports, on the plane, like in hotel rooms,
Yeah.
and especially
Yeah.
like traveling. Like when you're on the plane, like time flies by. Like
Mm-hmm.
sketching down old ideas, and
Is it within the same world? You don't have to, you can divulge as much as you want, but is it in the same, even
no, it's
something
it's
new?
a totally new story. It's totally
Cool.
different from anything I've done.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so that's right. The web series and the first feature and Worlds Divide all take place in the same world, right?
Yeah.
And I love that idea of seeing the web series and then seeing the first feature and Worlds
Mm-hmm.
Divide, and you can
Mm-hmm.
almost see like basically my learning process in making a feature, like or telling long form stories.
Yeah.
From the animation in the web series didn't start off as great. The first feature was okay, and then Worlds
Yeah.
Divide having that jump in quality. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like almost like you can study all three.
Yeah.
See,
100%, man.
yeah,
Wow. That's super cool, man. That's super
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
That's awesome. Well, my man, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know you're busy and you're flying out tomorrow or
yeah, yeah.
Sunday.
Going to Ottawa next.
Hey, dang. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm super excited for Ottawa.
Yeah. That'd be a big one, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It'll be a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
also like Prague right after that, and then
She's
Sitges.
just wow.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
cool, man. Enjoy it, man. What a whirlwind, huh?
yeah.
You
Thanks,
you were
Bobby.
you were a hermit for 2, 3 years, and now you have to be the most social, outgoing filmmaker, uh,
Yeah, I
international
mean,
too, right? You came
yeah.
from
I mean, I've
Guadalajara,
been
so
loving it. I love like
you're great at it,
socializing.
dude.
It's
Yeah,
it's funny
yeah,
you said like before meeting me in person, I would be like some sort of like shy like hermit
dude.
type of guy.
Yeah, for people viewing, like, I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait to meet Denver. He's probably gonna be super awkward and just like kind of weird. And you, bro, you're doing a great job. I mean, like, for someone that just spends all those nights in, you're so fun, so sociable. So you love people, you love to learn about other people and ask questions. And so it's like, dang, he's doing a great job for somebody that hold himself up for 100 years making this film. So,
Yeah, I mean, I've been loving being out from my
yeah,
your
yeah, yeah,
secluded
yeah.
studio space, so it's been fun.
Dude, you deserve all of the accolades and praise and everything else. Dude, I just want to say everywhere you go, you're gonna inspire so many people. We had that experience. You inspired me so much, man. So in addition to how epic the film is, the journey getting there, I know you were big on making ofs, DVDs and that kind
Mhm.
of stuff. And even that, it's just like so inspiring, man. So I want to thank you for that and kind of putting your journey out there, man. So everyone check out Worlds Divide when you get the opportunity. I don't know when it's gonna.
Yeah, it's still like doing the festival circuit, so we're still talking
Yes.
to sales and distribution and trying
Yes.
to figure that
Awesome.
out. So
Awesome. Oh yeah, I
hopefully
know,
soon.
dude.
I mean, like I'll only finally celebrate. Like festivals have been fun and all, but I'll
Yeah,
only finally celebrate when everyone gets to see it.
you were gonna be blown away.